Welcome to People Doing Good for Others, where we honor and praise and celebrate those who truly matter in significant ways in our communities. I'm Gary York, and I'm honored to have this opportunity to be with you. I want to thank Wilkes Communications, RiverStreet Productions, and 100.9 WIFM. And again, thank you for being part of this program. Our featured guest today is Heather Freeman. She's the outstanding principal at North Wilkes Middle School. She's a very incredible leader, a person who believes in education and in this Wilkes County community. She's a graduate of Wilkes Central High School. She's a North Carolina teaching fellow, and we're honored to have her with us. And good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on, Gary.
Here, Ms. Freeman.
Absolutely.
And, you're a native. Tell us about growing up and even where you lived and your mom, dad, and some of those things.
Sure. Well, it was an honor and privilege to grow up in Wilkes County, and certainly as a educator and resident and parent now, I truly value what Wilkes County offers to families, and just to the ability to live here and be a part of the culture here. My parents are Larry and Kathy Milton, who are also from Wilkes County. I am blessed to have a wonderful family, parents and grandparents who fostered in me the importance of faith and family and community and doing what's right when no one else is looking. And so I'm so very thankful for the strong work ethic that I got from my parents. Both my parents worked many years at Lowe's and retired from Lowe's. And my maternal grandfather and grandmother were May and Frank Beatty. And my grandfather was an orchardist up on the Brushies, and later opened up a business called Farmers Wholesale, where he provided farm chemicals to farmers. And my paternal grandparents, my grandmother was a teacher's assistant, Lib Milton, for many, many years with Wilkes County Schools. And my grandfather, Ed, worked at Jenkins Wholesale. So I grew up seeing a really strong tradition of working and giving back and being a strong member of your community and your church. And I was lucky to grow up in church. As a child, I attended Pleasant Home Baptist Church when we lived in Millers Creek. And then when I was 9, we moved, my parents built a new house and bought some property up on the Brushies on Brushy Mountain Road, and attended Oakwoods Baptist Church. And now my family, my husband Joel and our 2 children, McKenna and Addison, we attend Wilkesboro Baptist and are glad that we can be a part of that church family. So
thank you for that, Heather Freeman. That's the deep investment, if you will, in this community you've been a part of for a long, long time, and continue to be an advocate for Wilkes County.
Absolutely. This is home.
Wonderful school system. You're calling, let's go back Wilkes Central High School and those formative years and deciding you go to Meredith and the North Carolina Teaching Fellowship.
Yes. Well, I had some wonderful teachers all throughout school. When I was in high school, there were a few particular teachers that really stood out to me, that inspired me. Vicki Taylor, Sylvia Robinson, Lynn Clark, William Clark, Ginger Bentley. Those were all teachers that you always knew really were invested in you and really cared.
Invested in you.
Absolutely.
Wow.
They were invested in their students. And I actually had the privilege later, after college, to come back and teach with them as colleagues. And so I really knew probably that I wanted to be a teacher from very early in childhood. I played school, I pretended school, and then in high school I just realized that I wanted to be a high school teacher. I just enjoyed how I felt at high school, and I wanted to be able to replicate that for other students. And so I decided that I would teach, and applied for the North Carolina Teaching Fellows and was honored to be able to be a teaching fellow at Meredith.
Some of that experience, if you will, maybe the culture programs in the summer I've heard have been so excellent, so rewarding for you who win those scholarships?
Oh my goodness, I really just cannot say enough about the experiences that you gain from being a teaching fellow beyond, the wonderful support and enrichment that you get in an undergraduate teacher education program. But the discovery trip that the North Carolina Teaching Fellows Program sponsors for participants to go on the summer after their freshman year was just really, it was a very shaping experience for me. We had the opportunity to tour the western part of the state that year. Back in the 90s, they rotated between the western part of the state and the eastern part of the state each year. So my year to do that discovery trip was to tour the western part of the state. We toured different places. Wilkes County was one of the places that we came, Jackson County, Davidson County. They try to show you a very diverse range of geographic areas, also socioeconomic situations within school systems to give you a better understanding of why it's so important that you're there to serve students.
A question. The folks you would meet during the summer, the
Yes.
co-teachers now, a little bit about that enrichment, if you will.
Oh, wow. Well, it allows you to form a network of colleagues that go beyond just college years. For example, when I was teaching in Wake County, when I first graduated, a fellow teaching fellow and I were both math colleagues. His name's Michael Clinkscales, and just the collaboration and the support that you're able to form. But the Teaching Fellows program also cultivated that intrinsic desire to make a difference within us. And so I truly believe that students that came out of that Teaching Fellows program, when they went into education, they were in it because they loved it. They were not in it because there was a paycheck. And there certainly was never, and has never been in the last 17 years, a certain number of hours that you worked each day. And it was inspiring to see other people feel and do that same thing.
I was served on the local screening committee or interview committee for the Teaching Fellows. The best day of my year, every year, was to meet the youngsters that were candidates. And to know that when our system could recruit and hire a teaching fellow was a great day.
We're a pretty enthusiastic group of people.
It was exceptional folks who gave and shared and cared a lot. Your teaching career, if you will, just by year, and tell us what you've been doing.
Well, I graduated from Meredith with a Bachelor of Science in Math and minors in Statistics and Latin. And then I began my teaching career at Needham Broughton High School, which is in downtown Raleigh, and had a wonderful experience there. And then after a couple of years, my husband and I decided that we wanted to move back to Wilkes. And so I was fortunate to be able to obtain a position at Wilkes Central High School, where I taught for 12 years. I taught Math 1, AP Statistics, and Honors Discrete Math. And through that experience, I was able to get my master's degree in math education from Appalachian State. And through that experience, that then opened doors for me to be able to teach some summer professional development through the MELT program, the Mathematics Education Leadership and Training program that they have there. And I've worked with students outside of the classroom by advising student government, serving on different leadership teams, and that was what kind of led me to the point of feeling like after my 14th year, I had a desire to do something more. So I decided to pursue my doctoral degree in educational leadership. And as I was working through that program, I just felt the need to maybe go beyond and outside the classroom, but definitely stay in education. I want to be where I can impact students. So a position for an assistant principalship at Watauga High School opened up, and I applied for that, and that's kind of how I've navigated into administration. And I was there for 1 year, and then this is my second year being back in Wilkes and serving as the principal at North Middle.
Some of those experiences, if you will, about being a principal, the classroom, the administrative education, just can you share that a little bit about the training level of being a principal?
Well, I've been on a soapbox, sort of, for the last couple of years, because often when people will ask me about being a principal, I think that there's an unspoken assumption that people that go into administration or seek to become a principal just don't enjoy being in the classroom anymore. And for me, that is absolutely not it. I loved being in the classroom. I loved teaching, and certainly my teachers at North Middle probably would tell you that, when I come in, I tend to maybe get a little too involved because I like putting my teacher hat back on. But Steve Laws, who was the superintendent here I think it was probably 2012, when Steve Marie was my principal at Wilkes Central.
I saw Steve Marie yesterday.
Did you?
I
Love
did.
him. And was always very, very supportive of me. And I just happened to be in the office, and Dr. Laws was in Mr. Marie's office, and he may not even remember this, but he was talking with me and said, well, Ms. Freeman, have you ever thought about going into administration? And my initial response to him was immediately, no. Why would I want to do that? And that just kind of planted a seed where I started thinking about, okay, where can I continue to make an impact? And where can I make an even bigger impact? And so he probably doesn't even realize it, but that conversation kind of started, creating some opportunities for me to reflect on where I needed to go, in my career.
Okay. So share the first day at North Wilkes Middle.
Oh, wow. So exciting.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We had a really good opening of school, first of all, with teachers and getting to know them. And, I'm a pretty enthusiastic and perky person.
That's good.
So we had a good feeling in the school, but Carline is how that day started, being in Carline and opening doors for kids and saying hello to kids, shaking their hands. And it was an incredible experience because I can remember thinking, my goodness, I'm so blessed to have this amount of responsibility to try to support these teachers and to support these kids and their families. And, being a principal is a lot more than just providing that educational space and opportunity and supporting teachers with instructional leadership. There's a lot more that goes into it, and I'm just blessed to be able to provide that. But that first day, I can remember that thought resonating with me, thinking, wow,
Yeah.
I'm so blessed that God has given me this opportunity.
Go back to Carline. Let our folks, maybe a person that hasn't been around the school in a long time, a little bit about that drama and that culture, that Carline experience is so wonderful. Tell us a little bit more about how you get to connected with the parent and the family and the
absolutely.
child.
Well, I wave to every parent because, I want them to know that I'm making a personal acknowledgement that they're there and that they've supported their kid to get to school that day and on time. And, middle school students are going through so many changes, socially, physically, emotionally. And so I want them to get a smiling face every day and, a good morning. I strive to know all 554 names. I strive for that. And I'm
Good for you.
probably close.
Wow.
It's important for people to know that they matter. And I don't care how old they
That's
are.
a nice connection.
That's right. They want to know that they matter. So Carline gives me an opportunity, too, to talk to kids about what they're reading. Tell me what you're looking forward to today. Are you okay? You seem a little sleepy. Did you get, So it just provides the opportunity to open up so many conversations with kids. I try to step back, too, and do that as they're coming through the hallways after they get off the bus as well, because, the reality is that some of our children, they wake themselves up, they feed themselves breakfast, they get themselves on the bus because their parents may be working and they may have to leave before they're picked up on the bus. So, it may be that I or the person on bus duty is the first person that an adult that they see and speak with other than the bus driver. So again, it is important for every child to know that they matter when they get there.
Ms. Freeman, you're the principal at North Wilkes Middle School. and we're talking about the car line. How many students, how many teachers, staff, just overview, if you will, of your school?
We have about 550 students. Our enrollment is going to be down just a little bit for the 17-18 school year, but of course over the summer it always fluctuates. We have about 40 certified teachers there, and then we also have instructional support staff, TAs, custodians, bus drivers, office staff, cafeteria staff. We have a family there. That's, we call ourselves the Jaguar family, and we had our second annual family potluck luncheon on Monday to celebrate the successes and the efforts of our family in meeting the needs of our students.
So
this
everyone
year.
involved in the oversight of that facility had lunch together?
Yes, yes.
How wonderful.
And we didn't cater it. We brought in food that we made and that we wanted to share with one another. And it's just, again, it's about acknowledging the importance that every person has in that building. There are custodians in my building that make connections and have relationships with students that are making just as big of an impact as I do. And,
wow.
and it is a privilege to be here today, but I wish that they could all be here, because what I do, I could not do without all the effort that they put in every day to care for kids.
Wow. And we talked about motivating teachers, or being close to the person's on the firing line, if you will, moment after moment. Talk about your relationship with your teachers.
Well, that is so very, very important, because teachers are still learners. We are still learners. I am still a learner. And so, it's my mission to cultivate that culture within our school, that we have room to grow, and we need to grow together so that we can get better and we can improve the opportunities that we provide to our students. So I'm with my teachers a lot. I try to engage them a lot in our school leadership. In fact, when I leave here today, we will be having our end of the year Lighthouse meeting with
Lighthouse. Talk about that.
Lighthouse meeting is what a lot of schools call the school improvement team, but at our school we call it the Lighthouse team, because we've implemented the Leader in Me program.
Lighthouse.
That's right. So, but before I was here today, I was meeting with teachers, sitting down to do their summative evaluations and asking them, what goals are you wanting to continue to work on next year? How do you feel like I can support you? So I do try to very sincerely gauge how I can, help them grow, because we need that. Teachers have a ton of responsibilities, and the reality is that they're exhausted at the end of the day, just like anyone else. And we don't always feel like going home and picking up, the latest educational research to figure out what intervention is going to work best. So I, along with my instructional specialist and my assistant principal and many others, including our Lighthouse team, who every single month this year designed professional development for our faculty meetings. There were no faculty meetings about logistics. That was emailed or discussed in grade level meetings. But those teachers that served on our leadership team, the Lighthouse team, they really stepped forward and they took charge of some of that instructional leadership.
Wow. We met through the Stephen Covey Leader in Me initiative. Dennis Huggins invited me to your school, and what a amazing initiative. In essence, just in layman's terms, the Leader in Me is a part of the middle school curriculum, I guess you'd say, for the Wilkes County schools, funded by folks who care about the system.
Yes,
right?
very much so. Yes.
So we're kind of self-funded, or find a way to be trained to be a Leader in Me leader.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
Well, it's called the LEAD program in middle schools and Leader in Me in elementary schools. We all kind of use it interchangeably because Leader in Me is far more commonly known and associated. But it is a way to implement the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which was written by Stephen Covey several years ago, into the school concept and in working with students. And the 7 habits of highly effective people are things like be proactive, begin with the end in mind, setting goals, put first things first.
Yep.
We all want our children to clean up their rooms and do their homework before they go outside to play.
Right.
Prioritizing. Think win-win. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Synergize. Basics. It's what we sometimes see in literature called soft skills.
Okay.
So, when we have students that go on from middle school and high school, and then they go to college or they get ready to enter the career force, do they have a solid foundation in the academic skills, but do they also have a solid foundation in how to be a productive citizen in our community? Do they have grit and resilience for when they fail to bounce back? Or do they have the cooperative and collaborative skills that when they meet someone that they don't agree with, to figure out some solutions? And that certainly is needed in the workforce and community agencies, even in their own home. So the Leader in Me, or the LEAD program in middle school, is all about cultivating and fostering leadership potential within students to lead their own learning, to lead their own lives, and also to make an impact beyond. And it has just been the most amazing year of my entire educational career, to see what our teachers have done with that program, to see how students have stepped out. I mentioned that we have a teacher lighthouse team, but we also have a student lighthouse team. And those students meet every other week on Thursday morning before school, and they go through our school WIGs, which are wildly important goals, or what some schools would call their school improvement plan goals.
Yeah.
But we have 4 big ones, and those students meet, and the first thing that they talk about are those 4 WIGs. And they talk about how they've seen themselves or their teachers working towards meeting those goals in the last 2 weeks. And then they collaborate and share what they feel from a student perspective is needed for us to keep moving towards those, or what is acting as a restrainer and keeping us from being able to move towards those goals.
From my thought process, you spoke about shaking hands, eye contact, speaking,
Yes.
smiling.
Yes.
When do we get that training, or how does that work, Ms. Freeman?
Well, different places in the building, you get it every single day and every morning.
Okay.
We have, teachers and teachers' assistants who greet students every morning in breakfast line, and they engage them in conversation and will shake their hand. When I'm walking down the hallway, I will stop students and have them.
Youngsters coming to me with a great handshake.
That's great.
That was part of it.
Well, we try to teach them to have the confidence.
Wow.
To go to someone else and be able to introduce themselves. That's a big part of it, is empowering kids to believe in themselves, to think they can go up to an adult at middle school age and have a conversation with them. While you were there visiting during our LEAD Community Day, you probably had the opportunity to meet some of our Jaguar ambassadors.
Yeah, I did.
And some of our Jaguar council members.
Wonderful.
And, those kids are fabulous, but I also give a lot of credit to our teachers and to, those that support them in learning those skills. Some of our kids are not going to just innately know how to walk up to an adult, shake their hand, and have a conversation. Or they're not going to innately know how to be proud of themselves and to share with others what they've accomplished. Absolutely.
Somebody want to hear it.
So the LEAD program has just afforded us so many opportunities to work those types of things into the daily classroom environment. If you walk into our school at any given time and you walk into a classroom, you will see kids that have classroom jobs. We have kids that have school-wide jobs. That doesn't just include regular education kids, that includes our EC students. One of my EC students is our official school gardener, and his job is to water our plants that we keep at our front entrance and in my office. But to get that job, he had to fill out and complete an application with his teacher. He had to interview with his teacher to explain why he would be able to do that job and to be trusted to do that job. And then he had to interview with me. We have lots of school-wide jobs that are like that are posted. Kids can apply for them. And in fact, all of the students on the Student Lighthouse team had to apply to be in that position. For kids who might not be ready for that school-wide job, there are lots of jobs within their classroom. So
encouragement being a big
yes,
part of it.
Absolutely. But the job workforce and even college is a tough market.
Yeah.
And these kids need to have confidence in themselves to fill out that application, to be able to sit down and talk with someone and to explain to someone why they are the right person for this position.
Ms. Freeman, what is a kind of a day? Walk into the wings, you say all sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. Just what you might be doing during the day.
Myself or what we
Yeah.
might see?
I want you to just kind of walk us through your steps. Will you do that?
Well, every day is different,
Yeah.
and rarely does everything on the to-do list get done. I am, anyone will tell you, a very
Visible.
obsessive, compulsive, and organized person.
That's
So
okay. That's a
it's
good thing.
it's hard sometimes, but the needs of the students always come first, always. And so always in the morning, you will usually find me, unless there's a parent that has stopped by or there's something immediate that I have to attend to. I try to be in the hallways, talking with the kids as they're getting their breakfast, getting their day started. I go into classrooms, try to do a daily walkthrough in at least 2 or 3 classrooms every single day. Always try to check in on our our exploratory classes and our EC classes, and also just you have to know what's going on in your school, or you can't be a factor in the improvement. So that has been a priority.
You just brought up something that I want you to make sure you touch before we finish, the parent. Communication, the parent comes in and has a concern or has a want to.
Yeah.
Tell us about being a good listener and how to bring you together.
Yeah, well, fortunately, I'm a parent of 2 children who next year both will be in middle school. They attend Central Middle. But from a parent perspective, you want to be heard. And, it's important to always practice habit number 5, which is seek first to understand, then to be understood. So, if we want parents to trust that we have their child's best interest at heart, we need to listen to them. We may not always agree, but it's important to listen to each other to figure out a solution for that child. It's not about me, it's not about that parent, it is about what is going to best support the child. So that is very important, and I always try to make myself available. I make it a priority to try to call parents back before I leave for the day.
And you call every new student at home, right?
I do. I touch base with every new student that comes to enroll. I call their parents usually 2 or 3 days after. My data manager who helps enroll the students will always call that parent that afternoon, especially if they're going to be a bus rider, just to make sure that they know we've taken care of that child. They know what bus to get on. They'll be home around this time. But then I follow up a few days later, and the question that I'm interested in is, I want to hear from you what your child has been saying about school since transitioning to North Middle. Because, new students are often not going to have that connection yet with the teacher or with me to say, you know what, I'm scared. Or you know what, I don't have this. But they will once they get home. So I try to follow up to make sure that they're making a good transition.
Heather Freeman, you've blessed us in countless ways today.
Oh, thank you.
Your energy is so contagious, I'm sure, that it carries through your school. And when people are lifted, people learn. And I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank Wilkes Communications and RiverStreet Productions and WIFM and for the honor of having you with us today.
Oh, wow.
You've just, the countless blessings and joy that you bring us, I want to thank you and close with a few special moments about answering the call to be an educator.
Well, first I want to thank you for the work that you do too, to spotlight the work that we do and how we serve students. I appreciate that, because community support and knowing that our community believes in what we are doing is the fuel and motivation behind what we do every day. So I do appreciate and feel very blessed and honored to serve as a principal, especially here in Wilkes County Schools. This is my home, and I'm just thankful that that I can do what I do every day and make, even if it's a small difference in the lives of our students and our families.
And finish with Skills USA, the national winner.
Yes, we are very excited that we, North Wilkes Middle School has the first Skills USA middle school team that competed
Team.
at the state competition, and they won. And they will be traveling to Louisville, Kentucky in June to compete in the national competition, along with some high school students from here in Wilkes that placed as well, and the team from Wilkes Community College. So it's an awesome opportunity for our kids.
Thank you for blessing us and for giving and sharing and caring, and I hope you'll come back.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye-bye.